Good evening from me. I know it's not evening for everybody, but good evening from unceded Ngunnawal country. I'm just outside Canberra this evening, so I'd like to pay my respects to Ngunnawal people who've been storytellers here for tens of thousands of years. It's my great pleasure. Did I say my name? I'm Alice Grundy. I'm associate publisher at Brio, and it's my extraordinary pleasure to, I don't really need to hold up the book if I've got the background already. And in fact, the background is eating the book. There we go. It's my extraordinary pleasure to celebrate this evening at the edge of the solid world, which has been a little while coming. I think it was maybe 3 years ago that I first read the manuscript. And I'm not an outwardly very emotional person. I'm normally quite restrained. I'm very Anglo in that way. And I remember sitting at my desk sobbing, reading this manuscript, because from the first pages, it was so powerful and so moving. And I just knew that I wanted to have the opportunity to introduce it to readers. So it's an extraordinary privilege that Daniel has entrusted Brio with publishing this book. We're really proud to publish it. And if I do say so myself, I think we've got a beautiful cover and a very handsome typeset. And the book is available for you all now in all good bookstores. In fact, I'm not sure if Daniel's seen physical copies yet. Have you received those?
I have a physical. I do have a physical copy. Yes, I have multiple physical copies, but I've not seen it in a bookstore, unfortunately. But I have seen photos, which is very nice to see.
The next best thing. I have seen it in 2 states in bookshops. I can confirm that it exists in the world. So it's my pleasure this evening to introduce Anna MacDonald, who'll be doing the honours. Anna MacDonald is a writer and bookseller from Melbourne, and she's reviewed for 3am Sydney Review of Books and ABR, amongst others. And her new book, A Jealous Tide, is also available in good bookstores now. Thank you so much, Anna.
Such a pleasure, Alice. Thank you. So what we thought we were going to do, Daniel, did you want to read a bit first and then to give us a sense of context, or do you want me to ask a big question first? Do you have a preference?
Why don't you go for a question? The first section I'm going to read might need a bit of context. So
okay, sounds good. Well, hopefully this will give some context.
Okay.
So first, it's such a pleasure to be able to talk about this book, At the Edge of the Solid World. I have my physical copy too. And congratulations, Daniel, too, for being listed in the Australian Book Review's Best Books of 2020. So that was perfect timing, I think. Yeah, well to celebrate today. So At the Edge of the Solid World is a properly epic and expansive novel, I think. Certainly it's the book that reaches furthest across different times and different places than any other I've recently read. It seems to me that one way of approaching the book is as a determined act of witness on the part of the narrator. Almost the first words he writes is, "This is what I remember." It's a written testimony of one father's grief and of his experience of a marriage in crisis, but it's also much, much more than that. And if the narrator does come to terms with his own situation, he does it via a deep, imaginative and a properly felt engagement with other grieving fathers, some of whom are historical, like Francis James Child and Abraham Lincoln, who we'll hear about in a moment. Others are invented. And each of these fathers is connected somehow, and often by direct personal experience, to a particular war or other violent historical event. You manage in less than 500 pages to canvass the Bosnian War, Fallujah, the Highland clearances, the civil wars in Lebanon and Syria, the penal system in Van Diemen's Land, and I think the spectre of colonial violence in Australia is there from early on in the novel too. Also the dispossession of the Celts during the Roman invasion of Britain, the American Civil War, the slave trade, the first stages of moving towards nuclear weaponry, the Holocaust, and more. The scope and the ambition of the novel are remarkable. I'm in awe. But what's even more remarkable, magnificently so, is that you're able to pull it off so seamlessly. And until the point in the novel that you're going to read in a little while, which comes from the Abraham Lincoln section, I was thinking quite lazily now, I think, of the different narrative threads as interwoven. It's very easy to reach for kind of words that are just there that are often kind of used these days to describe a novel that has various narratives in it. But I think more and more now of these as kind of folded into and over one another. It's almost as if the narrator has slipped inside the skin of some of the characters that he's imagining at points, and as if all of the events from the Roman invasion to the death of the narrator's child are happening all at once and at the same time. And what I really want to know is how you did it. Where did the book begin and how did you settle upon the narrative structure?
Wow. So the book, where did the book begin? The book began, I've been collecting material. I don't want to say collecting. I've been keeping material, I guess, that I thought I might work with for a long time. So a lot of what's written in here, when there's a specific time stamp for the narrator meeting somebody or some sort of event, mostly those timestamps are pretty accurate. So the earliest material goes back to 2003. That was the first time I visited the Port Arthur historical site and saw the memorial there, although that comes late in the book. That is one of the first events chronologically, and I went back there in 2009, I think, or 2010. Mm-hmm. And then there's a reference, or there's a section of the book where the narrator meets a soldier, a very terribly wounded soldier at the time that the Iraq War is unfolding, particularly in Fallujah. And that large sections of that are a true story. The narrator is convalescing in the north of Scotland. The soldier lives nearby. I mean, that's a pretty accurate setup for something that I did experience at that time. So I guess that would be 2005 or thereabouts. So that material, and then the material afterwards, the first encounters with child and the child ballads, all happened. The way the narrator says it is mostly how it happened for me and at the time that it happened. So it's sort of been sticking with me, bits and pieces, for, geez, I feel really old now, almost 20 years, which is not how I thought of it when I started writing, but sure, yeah, that'd be right. So that's kind of where the stuff of the book begins. The writing itself began also where the writing begins for the narrator, which is around 2015, towards the end of 2015. He says towards the end of the book that one of the things that triggers him to go to do what he does and to recount this story eventually is the picture of a young boy whose name was Alan Kurdi. He was a refugee from Syria who died in the Mediterranean Sea and washed up on a beach in Greece. I'm sure we all remember this particular photograph. And it was around then, I guess, that I did begin writing it. Partly because of that, because when I saw that picture, it felt like the impetus to finally put pen to paper on this thing that I knew was brewing and had that scope that you spoke of, and also because that around that time, I guess just by chance, that's when the kind of, I don't want to say the voice came to me, but I started feeling the rhythms of the book, the way the narrator speaks, the way he puts sentences together, just started sort of coalescing around then. So that's when the book itself actually became the book that it is. And I brought in all this material. It just felt like there was a shape coming that needed this stuff from 2006 and 2003 that I'd been hoping to find a form for so long, and had tried in various shorter forms that didn't work. And kind of finally all came in. But you're right to say, I think that I didn't want it to be sort of intertwined where you get like the alternate sort of narratives of one character and then it is. But yeah, I like the way you put it, that it's like the narrator is stepping into the skin of some of these characters. In fact, I think he says something to that effect when he's first discussing a character called Demirovich. He says that it's like I stepped into him and he was like a puppet that I was wearing. And so I thought, I think he didn't say that until quite late in the writing process. But anyway, he says it. And that concept of having like layers, it's more like layers, like or something superimposed on top of something superimposed on top of something superimposed. So it is unfolding oftentimes simultaneously. Yeah. So that including in the Lincoln chapter, it's the narrator is sort of he's becoming this character, like he's actually transforming into someone in an historical moment at the same time that he is in his own moment, particularly in that character, because actually in that chapter, for instance, because Lincoln, you referred to Abraham Lincoln. The name actually doesn't appear in the book, Abraham Lincoln, except in the title of the section, but he's referred to just as the man at the desk. It's Lincoln at his desk writing the Gettysburg Address, but it's the narrator at his desk. Like, he is the man at the desk. Yeah. They're the same person, it's a reconstruction that the narrator is like wearing at the same time as he's wearing all these others. Yeah.
And that one of the things that really struck me was this question of where a person begins and ends, which kept coming back to me kind of again and again and again in different ways. And it came to me, I suppose, through that way of kind of slipping on the skin of another character in the way that the narrator does, but also that question. I don't want to give too much away for people who haven't read the book, but the body is extremely important, I think, in this novel, and a kind of interrogation of, does the body contain the person, or is the person also shaped or only shaped by cultural, social, historical kind of